All right, today, if you haven't noticed, I'm not holding a smart collar in my hand because we're going to talk about something a little more, let's call it psychologically complex than dealing with a smart collar, one of the spot-ons or the halos or whatnot. We're going to talk about socializing your dog today. And, for some of you, that may seem like the impossible task. Trust me, I have two adult dogs, adult Dobermans. One of them, the male, Aries, is... he's very social, generally likes people, and gets along with other dogs for the most part. There is the occasional hiccup. And then there is Athena. She is the absolute polar opposite. She may be one of the cutest dogs I've ever seen in my life, but she is not a very sociable animal. So don't think you're alone in this. I'm working on it myself with her. She's already a kind of high anxiety dog, but those are things that we're going to cover throughout the course of this, including, choosing the right time of the day, week, month to start socializing your dog, understanding it, the kind of patience that you need to work your way through it, all kinds of stuff, everything that's involved in going through the socialization process, especially once you're past the puppy stage, is generally more difficult and requires a deal more patience. So we're going to cover all of it. Hopefully we can get your dog socialized, better. Hopefully we can get my dog socialized better. It's something that we can work on together. But that being said, let's get started on it. To start off with, it's not difficult to understand what socialization is. It's getting your dog better able to handle other people, other animals, and especially surprises, like when somebody shows up at your house and maybe let's say you've already invited them in on your phone and they walk right in the door. I mean, you don't want your dog eating them alive while they're trying to get back out your door. It's all about your animal being better behaved and better able to deal with sudden situations and situations where there's a lot going on, big distraction. You got to remember, dogs' noses and ears are a lot more sensitive to ours. So when a bunch of stuff's going on, like you got a party at your house or something, that is a lot of stuff for your dog to take in. There are all kinds of benefits to taking the time to socializing your dog. You have a well-behaved dog, a well-mannered dog. Everybody likes that dog that, you can just sit down with friends of yours or your neighbors, and you can tell your dog to sit right next to you, and he or she will just sit right there and not move until you tell it to. That's pretty impressive. That's difficult to do. You don't have to go that far, but we do need to get, your dogs to where if somebody is sitting there and relaxing, you don't have to worry about it being anxious, nervous, pacing, and maybe, nipping your friend on the hand or something, or on the back of the leg when they get up and move around. And of course, obviously, it reduces anxiety. It improves their overall interactions. You can take them places. You can walk your dog into public areas, especially if you ever want your dog to be emotional support dogs. That takes training, that takes time, that takes patience. And if you want to understand socialization, that's basically what it encapsulates. And it starts from a young age. It's better to do this with your puppy, when they're very young. But that doesn't mean you can't ever do it. If it's too late, your dog's fully grown, don't worry, you can still do it. It's never too late. Most dogs are pretty smart animals, even the ones that are, like the angry Chihuahuas or the ankle biters. They're pretty smart. They can figure things out. It just may take a little more time and a little more effort and a little more patience on your part. Now, if you've got brand new puppies or you're just starting off and you have a really young dog, the primary time throughout their entire life to socialize them is in between 3 weeks and 14 weeks of age. There's also around about in that time period as well, there is a time frame when scaring them has more of a long-term effect. So, people who use corporal punishment or static shock type things with collars, that can have a very long-term effect on a dog. especially if it's done while they're still, in that 3 to 14 week stage. Socialization period is exactly the same. It's 3 to 14 weeks. That's the best time to do it. Doesn't mean you can't do it at all. Like I said earlier, you can socialize your dog at any age. It just may take more time and patience. And of course, obviously, before you start bringing your dog around other dogs, you need to make sure they're completely up to date on their vaccinations, depending on your state. The rabies vaccination is one of the primary, but every state's a little bit different. First time as a dog owner, you want to check with your state to make sure that they are, up to date on all of their vaccinations as it pertains to state law. When you start out with socialization training, one of the best things you can do is do it slowly. Take your time, ease them into it. Don't, bring your dog into a house full of other dogs, especially if they're very chaotic and very energetic dogs. Don't, bring a whole bunch of people into your home. Take it easy, maybe one dog, or just taking them outside, getting them to where there's people off in the distance, slowly introduce them. Make sure you use treats, plenty of praise, lavish attention on them whenever they do what you ask them to do. And that kind of plays into something else. Training helps work a dog's brain. And it also helps them, with anxiety levels. I would, at the very least, do basic training techniques. Sit, give me 5, lay down, things of that nature. You work on these things, and it's best to try to do it in 5-10 minutes before you start your socialization period. So before you take your dog out there to meet other dogs or get around other people or just go somewhere where there's more than just you around, do a little bit of training, spend some time with them. Like I said, remember the praise and the treats, they go a long way because it creates positive associations. You want your dog to have positive associations with meeting other dogs and other people, especially strange people and strange dogs. Now, this is a calm and controlled environment. I mean, just look at how calm and absolutely controlled this is. Fear, aggression, and overstimulation are obviously 3 of the biggest problems you face during socialization. But when it comes to desensitizing your dog to certain fears, the only way to properly do it is to introduce them to those fears. However, you're doing it on a low-key level. Like, let's say, fireworks. Your dog goes absolutely crazy. Well, I'm not saying shoot off fireworks next to your dog, but maybe record the sound, introduce the sound around your dog while your dog's at home. Sit with your dog while the sounds are on, whether you want to put it on Alexa or, on some speakers you have around the house or even on your smartphone. Start with the sounds at low-key volume, raise the sounds up over time, remaining with your dog, petting them, praising them, treats, the whole positive association thing. But only do the treats and the positive association while the sounds are being played. That way the dog learns to associate treats and positive attention with those very sounds. Some things that trigger dogs are multifaceted. It's more than fireworks. It's door slamming, people coming in and out, loud conversations, loud music. Well, in that case, you introduce your dog to individual parts of the whole. Just take one part of that, introduce it to your dog in a low-key way, up the ante, while remaining with your dog, giving them treats, giving them praise as they get used to it. Then add in a second one, and then a third one, and then a fourth one if there indeed is that many. But the idea, again, is, and I know I've said this a few times already, time and patience. Time and patience. That's what it takes to get your dog desensitized to a lot of these things that trigger aggressive behavior or, just chaotic behavior in general, especially fireworks, a car muffler's going off, things of that nature. You know the deal. Like I said, you've probably been through some variation of it one way or the other. If you're still having trouble, that's when you seek professional help, a professional dog trainer, maybe even take them to PetSmart. I would recommend finding a local trainer that really knows their business, is certified to train pets. But you can do something like PetSmart in the event that, you don't have any of those locally. Check reviews, make sure that you that this person's not advertising their services and they've got absolutely no background whatsoever. You know the deal. You're going to trust your dog in the care of somebody else. You really need to do your background on them. But that's a worst case scenario, last ditch effort type thing. As you build up to that, if you can't get your dog to just break over that hurdle, that's when you seek out professional help. But for the most part, you should be able to do this with time and effort. And the only other reason you might want to seek professional services is if you just simply don't have the time. But if you don't have the time to take with your dog 5-10 minutes per day, then you probably, just being honest, you probably shouldn't have a dog anyway, because dogs need some sort of attention. Take them out for walks, get them around other people. One of the things that you should really focus on teaching your dog is to heel. Heel it's not an easy thing to do, but if you could teach your dog to stay right next to you and sit down on command, that will work wonders for you when you introduce your dog to other environments, other dogs, other people. Teach them to heel. And that is, I would say, you've gone more than halfway towards completely socializing your animal. Once they understand healing, then you could start introducing them to other people, other dogs outside when you're taking your dog for a walk. Because, honestly, if you're taking your dog for a walk, unless you're doing it late at night, you're probably going to run into somebody. So teaching them to heel, to me, that's should be one of your major goals. If you have pits, Rottweilers, they're a little bigger, they're a little stronger, they're built low to the ground, they have a low center of gravity, they could pull you a lot easier than, say, my Dobermans can. My Dobermans are strong, but they're higher up, they're not as, thick, big around. They don't have quite that leg power that you find in Rottweilers and pits. If you have dogs like that, then you really should start training them in the heel process, like in your yard in a fenced-in area, or something like that, rather than down the sidewalks, especially if you know they're aggressive and they need to be socialized. Start inside your yard, then work your way outside. Now, I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse with this, but patience, and consistency. Consistency is key. It's going to be a gradual process. Every dog learns at their own pace. You can jump online and look and find dogs that are, ranked as more intelligent than other dogs. But honestly, the more intelligent dogs are often harder to work with, especially if they're stubborn, because they know what you're up to and they may not be into it. Be like, nah, I'm not doing that today, fella. So sometimes more intelligent dogs are more difficult to work with than dogs that are ranked as high. But either way, every dog progresses at their own pace. You could have 3 Dobermans and each one of them will progress a little differently than the others. Same thing with, pick your favorite dog. 3 of them, then you're likely to get 3 different results. It's just like having an older child, a middle child, and a younger child. I'm sure you've seen those TikToks. They're hilarious. And it's similar with dogs. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes repetition. Celebrate those small victories and don't get frustrated when you get setbacks. One thing dogs can sense is stress and frustration in a human being. That's not something that you want to impart on your dog. Throughout the training process, you want to present to them calm, comfort, relaxation, positive assurance, that everything's good to go and they're doing the right thing. That's all that matters. And like I said, just repetition. Don't overdo it. 5-10 minutes here and there throughout the day. Some dogs like a little more training than others. Some dogs like a little less training than others. Look up your dog, check it out, see what they like, and then kind of model your routine after that. And as long as you're consistent with it, and you keep up with the repetitions, and you have plenty of patience, your dog will get there in the end. That's pretty much it. Socialization is a long-term thing. It's not going to be something you snap your fingers and it's done overnight. You're going to have to spend plenty of time doing it. It's going to take time, patience, routine. Just don't drag your dog into it too quick. Take your time, take it easy, introduce new things, one at a time, and introduce them slowly and introduce them low key, especially if we're talking about noises. You don't want to, if your dog gets excited over loud noises, you don't want to bring a bullhorn inside the house. Okay. Take your time, keep it low key, raise it up as time goes on, and be sure that you continue to praise and, love and appreciate your dog as you go through the process. That way they always associate those noises, those sights, those sounds with your love and treats, because nothing speaks to a dog's heart better than a treat. With that being said, my own personal experience, Athena is a lot better than she used to be. She's still a very anxious dog. We've acclimated her and socialized her, I would say, probably a little bit above the bare minimum. And we did it out of necessity because we constantly have people coming over here. So it's been a constant thing with her. Just working with her, giving her treats, loving on her, make sure she's happy. She whines a lot. Even when she's getting a lot of attention, she's just one of those kind of Dobermans. So my personal experience, she is still very much a work in progress. So we're still working with her, but be sure, like what I just told you, jump on those comments at the bottom, tell us your own experience. And if you have any tips, hints, tricks that you use with your dog, share it. That's how this whole thing works. We give each other advice, and our own experiences will help others with their dogs, especially people who are first-time dog owners. And your comments may be invaluable to somebody. And also, I always try to get on there at the end of every, when I do a video, I always try to get on there and answer all your questions and concerns. I say that every time I do a video, but I try to reiterate it every time because it's important to me that, the audience understands that I always try to get on here and answer your questions, and go back and forth with comments and such. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button too, because that's where these videos come from at the end of the day. More likes and subscriptions helps the channel. When the channel is helped, we can bring you more stuff like all this stuff up here on the wall. A lot of it I've still got to review, still got to put on my dog, still got to test it. And those likes and subscriptions help me get to that point so that I can bring you more and better information. So we appreciate you watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and have a fantastic day.